Today I want to talk about training and police training and the people who are on the internet that are experts in police training that have never been trained to be the police, but they know damn well that the cop in that video, he didn't do the right thing. The reason, I guess the example that I want to bring up for today's video, or kind of what brought this idea into my head, was I posted a video on the body camera channel. By the time you see this, it'll be probably a week ago. And it was a video of an officer who was working at the casino, special duty, and security called him. They said, hey, we got this guy that's being a drunk idiot. We've told him he needs to leave the property. He's refusing to leave the property. Can you come up and assist to make sure that he leaves the property? Now, when it comes to forcing people to leave the property, the police and the security of the casino have virtually the same authority. There's also law enforcement personnel who literally work in the casino. They're part of the gaming commission, and they also make decisions on whether or not someone's going to be kicked out of the casino. So the police officers are just there because they're a uniformed presence that, like it or not, people tend to respect a little bit more than someone that they don't believe has authority. So in this case, the police officer walks up to this gentleman. He's very cordial with the guy, gives him a fist bump, says, hey man, they don't want you here, you got to go. The guy starts to leave, and then he starts turning around to argue with the police officer. The officer puts his hand on his back and says, keep going. They had a little bit of back and forth, and then the officer goes to try to take control of the guy. The guy pulls away, falls down. You've seen the video, you've probably seen the video. I'll put a clip of it in here somewhere. So I saw more than a handful of comments from people saying something to the effect of, oh, well, police don't learn de-escalation anymore. That's one of my favorites. And then it said, if you put your hands on a drunk person that's angry, you're just going to make them more angry. Saw a lot of comments like that, and a lot of people saying, this cop needs to be retrained. I even saw people saying this cop needs to be fired. If you think that a cop needs to be fired in that situation, you're a moron. And there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You're an idiot. You don't know what the hell it is that you're talking about. And one of the things that these comments kind of spurred on me is it's actually how little the general public understands about what's actually going on in these situations. And the reason that I can bring this up is because it reminds me of new police officers with no experience and how they interact with the public. I know I was guilty of this when I was a young, brand new police officer as well. But we see it all the time out on the street with these kids that are on coaching or just off coaching. I literally just saw one the other day where there was a woman who she was acting out. Doesn't really matter all the circumstances about why she was acting out. She was not free to leave, but she told this young police officer that she was taking control of this situation, and was trying to walk past the officer. The officer was like hovering around in front of this woman with her hands out like this, like, nope, don't pass me, don't pass me, don't pass me. And I let it go on for a couple seconds, and I just walked over and I grabbed this woman. One hand on the wrist, one hand up under the arm, say, listen, this is literally called the escort position. This is the way we escort people places that we want them to go. So to go back to the video, the officer in this video who was escorting somebody out of the building, and people were like, oh, everyone knows that as soon as you put your hands on someone, it's just going to make them more angry. You don't need to put your hands on someone to escort them. Well, sometimes you do. We literally have a position called the escort position that we use to escort people that don't want to go with the program. So you don't know what you're talking about. And then I'll also go back to these new officers. We'll see them all the time where you got someone that is at a really agitated state, and the officer is doing everything they can not to put their hands on this person. We see people all the time that get themselves in this state, and they will continue to escalate their behavior until you act, until you counter that behavior by putting your hands on them. They're trying to show you that they're in charge, and often you need to put your hands on somebody and lock them down in a position to remind them that in fact they are not in charge. So very often, putting your hands on somebody who is intoxicated and a very angry, excited state is actually the very thing that you need to do to calm people down. And it reminds me of a situation I found myself in when I think I only had 6-7 months on the job. I was working a very high crime, very busy inner city neighborhood. I got called on a call about a fight, and I think on this particular night we had this call multiple times, and it was across a couple of different streets. These people just could not get along with each other, and by the time we ever got to where the call came in, the one load of people had already gotten up into their car and gone back home, so we weren't able to address the problem. And this happened 3 or 4 times. And then the call came in, I don't know, a 4th time maybe, and I just happened to be really close by. I pulled up and I see this group of people walking down the street. Half the guys have their shirts off, a couple of them are carrying baseball bats. I knew exactly who they were because I had interacted with them at different parts of the night regarding this particular run. And sorry, my phone is ringing. So I knew that these were the people that I needed to address. So I pulled my car off the road. I was by myself, and I aired for backup. I said, hey, I've got the group here. They got baseball bats. I'm at X Street and Y Street. I get out of the car, and me getting out of the car, they lost their shit. They start yelling and screaming at me. They're running up on me with their hands out like this, like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like smacking themselves in the chest. They're like, what are you gonna do? They're calling me bitches, all this other kind of stuff. They start to circle around me, and I didn't know what to do. I was caught in a loop. It was the first time I'd ever encountered something like this. It's not that I was scared. It's just I didn't want to do the wrong thing. I wasn't going to pull my gun out and just start blasting like the meme. So I remember I got my taser out, and I went to the guy with his shirt off who was being the most belligerent. I pointed my taser at his chest, and I told him he needs to turn around and put his hands behind his back. He just stood there and yelled at me. Me pointing my taser at him did not make him comply, not even in the slightest. And then all of his friends and family are screaming at me. They're like, you a bitch, you a bitch. What you gonna do, tase him? For what? For what? For what? Like, you guys have all seen the videos. You know how this stuff goes. And I was standing on the side of the road, and then I remember the first car that pulls up with me is another officer who's fairly new at the time. He probably had a year longer than me on the street, but an extra year is a big deal when you're new. He jumps out of the car, runs over, grabs this guy, puts his hands behind his back, puts him in cuffs, and I don't know, he had some words to say to this guy. Tell you what, it shut everybody up in the crowd. They all knew that the police were there, that the police meant business. By the officers going up and putting hands on this guy who was being a drunk, loudmouth idiot, it completely calmed the situation down. I remember I learned a very important lesson that day, is that you don't let somebody just kind of think that they're the boss in that situation. If someone is highly intoxicated, highly angry, excited, running around, running their mouth, using threatening language, you need to clamp your hands on that person, and you need to get them under control physically. They need to know that you are in control, that they are not. This is something that new police officers don't understand. This is something that a lot of civilians don't understand. But a police officer with decades of experience understands full well. And ever since that day, when I've gotten into a similar situation, it's very often the very first thing that I do is I'll jump on them out of my car, and I'll go ahead and latch on to the person that appears to be the most excited, the most belligerent, the most aggressive, the most dangerous looking person there. I will clamp onto that person, and if they want to put up a fight, they're going to end up on their face. But what I'm doing is I'm setting the tone for everybody else on scene that I'm not going to put up with this crap. By doing that kind of thing, you actually prevent the situation from escalating further. That is a form of de-escalation, and that's something that people don't understand. By me clamping onto something, by me putting someone on the ground, putting their face in the dirt, I'm preventing them from swinging on me in the future. I'm preventing any of their friends from swinging on me in the future. That is a form of de-escalation. And the people who are out there arguing against this kind of thing and saying, oh, those police officers need more training, blah, 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 they are the ones that are least in the position to be able to tell us what to do. I don't know. I think that's all I got to say today. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.